Hello YouTube, this is just another guy talking about stuff, and my ongoing series that takes a look episode by episode at the greatest television show of all time, Community. While I have your attention, please don't forget to click that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos, and smash that like button to help the channel out. Do people still say smash that like button? I might be a bit behind. Anyway, Social Psychology originally aired on October 8th, 2009, and brought in 4.87 million viewers in its new 8 p.m. time slot. Down almost a million viewers from the previous week, this number is perhaps a bit disappointing considering later that night on NBC, The Office would premiere parts 1 and 2 of Niagara, the Jim and Pam wedding episodes, one of the most popular episodes of that series. Social Psychology was the 4th episode of Community to air, but not the 4th episode by production code. That would be Football, Feminism, and You, and we'll touch on how that schedule move affects that episode when we get to it. This episode is actually the 5th according to production code, and in the DVD commentary, Dan Harmon remarks on how the schedule change rushed the final product. Watching this episode with this knowledge, you can see that Social Psychology isn't the most polished episode from a technical standpoint, even for one this early on in the series. Did you notice anything off with this episode? Be sure to mention it in the comments if you did. So in this episode, we are introduced to recurring character Vaughn Miller, played by Eric Christian Olsen. Probably best known by me as the cocky blonde guy from Not Another Teen Movie, but probably known by most people as Detective Marty Weeks on NCIS Los Angeles. Vaughn is Britta's love interest, putting some stress on the Britta-Jeff relationship. It seems Jeff has agreed to back off Britta, but still makes it obvious that he's interested in her romantically, or at least sexually. Some critics have mentioned it was a bit awkward to see a self-centered character like Jeff simp for Britta so hard. Only they use better words because they have a better vocabulary, and the term simp didn't exist in 2009. You could see it as Jeff not accepting rejection very well, and he sees Britta as the one that got away. But figuring out these characters is what makes the show fun. Speaking of characters, I think one of the most dramatic changes that happened due to this episode airing out of order is Troy Barnes. I said we'd talk about Football, Feminism, and You when we get to it, but we know that episode centers around Troy and his identity. Since we don't get to see that story yet, it seems like we get a dramatic shift in Troy's character. Troy really doesn't get much screen time in this episode, but Donald Glover gets one of the most memorable scenes cracking under the Duncan experiment. That hilarity is all Glover, but it doesn't seem to fit with the Troy character as we know him yet. We do get to see more of our main cast interacting with each other than we do in previous episodes. The show starts with Jeff trying to avoid walking together with Shirley to class. It doesn't seem like they have much in common, and Jeff doesn't want to get stuck making small talk with her. The twist is, it turns out they do have something in common. Making fun of Britta's new love interest, Vaughn. There's a B-plot involving Annie recruiting Troy and Abed into Professor Duncan's experiment, where waiting for the experiment is the experiment. It's a clever bit and leads to a great scene with Troy finally cracking when him and Abed are the only two left. Short story shorter, Abed doesn't break down, leaving Duncan and his students, including Annie, to break down, waiting for Abed to break down. When Annie asks why he waited patiently so long, he says it's because they said they were friends. Sweet, right? Annie apologizes, we move on. I'm not sure you could even call this a plot, but Pierce bought a listening device called earnoculars that allow him to hear things said in the distance. Chevy Chase doesn't have much to do in this episode, and the earnoculars get used as a small plot device, but I think someone just really liked the earnoculars joke because the whole thing wasn't really crucial to what was happening in the episode. So Pierce, thanks to the earnoculars, thinks Jeff and Shirley are making fun of the rest of the group. They admit to him that they were gossiping about Vaughn. Shirley then shows the rest of the group an embarrassing love letter from Vaughn to Britta that Jeff took a picture of when she showed it to him in confidence. In a stereotypical storytelling coincidence, Britta and Vaughn walk in on the group as they are sharing the letter. Vaughn leaves upset, eventually getting rid of Britta. Jeff apologizes, Britta accepts, perhaps too easily, we move on. In the episode, again, we see the flaws of these characters. How the flaws interact with each other. How the flaws antagonize each other. Also, how these flaws complement each other. Social Psychology is not one of the great episodes of Community. Now I love this show. As the title of this video says, it's the greatest show of all time. For someone that has watched this show as much as I have, I can admit that not every episode is amazing. What every episode is, though, is memorable. The character of Vaughn Miller is only in 4 episodes of Community, but he is memorable. The Duncan experiment is a side plot of the 4th aired episode of the series, but it is memorable. Okay, Maybe the ear noculars weren't as memorable, but nothing can be perfect. Thanks for watching this episode of the greatest television show of all time. If you made it this far, please click that like button, subscribe to the channel, comment in the comments. I hear that bell icon is pretty cool too. So do all the YouTube things, and until next time, this has been Just Another Guy Talking About Stuff, and witty sign-off catchphrase.